Look, I need to tell you something that's going to save you from financial ruin, and your mechanic absolutely doesn't want me sharing this with you. There are 11 cars out there, sitting in used car lots, showrooms, and online marketplaces that look like reasonable purchases until you actually own them. The cars I'm about to show you aren't just bad, they're financial black holes that will drain your bank account faster than you can say extended warranty. Let's count them down. Number 11, 1995 Land Rover Discovery. The Discovery featured a 4.0-liter aluminum V8 producing 182 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission and permanent four-wheel drive. On paper, it offered legitimate off-road capability. In reality, it offered legitimate financial disaster. Where do we even start? Blown head gaskets were practically guaranteed. The electrical system was a nightmare of Lucas components that failed constantly. Window regulators, leaking sunroofs, transmission problems, cooling system failures. The reliability was so spectacularly poor that Land Rover actually had to rename the third-generation model to LR3 in North America just to escape the terrible reputation. Number 10, 1991 Saturn SL. The SL came with either an 85 horsepower 1.9-liter single overhead cam four-cylinder or a 124 horsepower dual overhead cam version, paired with either a 5-speed manual or 4-speed automatic. Saturn marketed revolutionary no-haggle pricing and rust-resistant plastic body panels, which sounds great until you realize the body panels were the only thing that didn't fall apart. Despite GM investing $5 billion into this project, the build quality couldn't match a cheaper Honda Civic. Owners reported constant electrical failures, alternators and starters dying without warning. The engines consumed oil at alarming rates, and head gaskets failed regularly, especially on single-cam models from 1995 to 1999. The cars felt unrefined, with noisy, vibrating engines, cheap plastics that cracked in sunlight, and indifferent engineering that left buyers wondering where that $5 billion actually went. Saturn promised innovation, but delivered mediocrity wrapped in plastic. Number 9, 1994 Ford Aspire. At number 9, we have the 1994 Ford Aspire, a Korean-built subcompact that replaced the Festiva, and the name became an unintentional joke about having low expectations. This two-door or four-door hatchback featured a Mazda-sourced 1.3-liter four-cylinder producing just 63 horsepower. 63 horsepower moving over 2,000 pounds with a 3-speed automatic meant acceleration wasn't just slow, it was dangerously slow. When you pushed the throttle, the Aspire simply made noise instead of actually accelerating. Merging onto highways required planning, courage, and complete disregard for your own safety. Base models lacked power steering, making parallel parking an upper body workout. The interior was depressing with hard plastics everywhere and punishing seats. It proved that sometimes the cheapest option is actually the most expensive when you factor in the cost to your dignity. Number 8, 1995 Chevrolet Cavalier. The Cavalier featured a 120 horsepower, 2.2-liter four-cylinder as standard, with an optional 150 horsepower dual overhead cam engine in C24 and LS models. Transmission choices included a 5-speed manual or 3-speed automatic, later upgraded to a 4 that was barely better. The Cavalier represented everything wrong with 1990s GM. Owners reported constant transmission problems. The 3-speed automatic would freeze up and refuse to shift when warm. Water pump failures were common, head gaskets failed regularly, and the turn signal switch was notorious for braking. The interior was cheap with uncomfortable seats and Fisher-Price quality plastics. Oil leaks were guaranteed. Fuel injection required frequent repairs, and some Cavaliers literally burst into flames. The car rattled, clanked, and fell apart, yet GM kept building them year after year with minimal improvements. It was a rolling testament to how little Detroit cared about quality. Number 7. 1996 Ford Taurus. The Taurus came with either a 140 horsepower 3.0-liter Vulcan V6 or a 200 horsepower 3.0-liter Duratec V6. The infamous SHO model received a Yamaha-developed 3.4-liter V8 making 235 horsepower paired exclusively with a 4-speed automatic. Ford's radical oval-obsessed styling turned off buyers immediately. Everything was oval: windows, dashboard vents, even the rear window. The real killer was reliability. The AX4S automatic transmission, particularly with the Vulcan V6, averaged just 100,000 miles before catastrophic failure, with replacement costing more than the car's value. Power steering rack failures were common around the same mileage. The SHO's beautiful-sounding Yamaha V8 suffered from failing camshaft sprockets that would destroy the entire interference engine. Ford rushed this redesign to market, and it showed in every way. Too radical styling, subpar quality, and questionable reliability at best. It destroyed the Taurus nameplate's reputation for years. Number 6. 1990 Yugo GV. The Yugo featured a 1.1-liter four-cylinder producing just 55 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. It weighed approximately 1,860 pounds and was based on a 1960s Fiat 128 design. The car could reach 60 miles per hour in 14 seconds and had a top speed of 86 miles per hour, numbers that tell you nothing about the horror of actually owning one. Where do we begin? The Yugo was a dated Fiat design built in communist Yugoslavia by workers who were reportedly smoking and drinking brandy on the assembly line. Trim pieces fell off constantly, the timing belt needed replacement every 30,000 miles or you'd destroy the engine, and dealers reported half the cars wouldn't make it from the docks to the dealership. Number 5. 1992 Cadillac Alante. The 1992 model used a 4.5-liter V8 producing 200 horsepower, though 1993 got the new Northstar 4.6-liter V8 making 295 horsepower. All models came with 4-speed automatic and front-wheel drive. Priced over $50,000, nearly twice a Corvette, the Alante cost Mercedes money but delivered Cadillac reliability. Early cars suffered constant quality issues. The convertible tops leaked notoriously, a problem GM knew about before launch but ignored. The Bosch anti-lock brakes were expensive and problematic. With 200 horsepower moving 3,600 pounds through the front wheels, Motor Trend recorded 0 to 60 times at a glacial 10.3 seconds, 4 seconds slower than the Mercedes it supposedly competed with. Body rigidity was poor, and the expensive Pininfarina-designed Italian bodies flown to Detroit on specially modified 747s couldn't hide that this was still a front-wheel drive Cadillac underneath. By the time Cadillac fixed problems for 1993, it was too late. The Alante had already destroyed its own reputation. Number 4. 1990 Geo Metro. The Metro convertible featured a 1.0-liter 3-cylinder producing just 55 horsepower, paired with either a 5-speed manual or 3-speed automatic. It weighed approximately 1,800 pounds and rode on tiny 13-inch wheels. Picture this: you're on the interstate, and an 18-wheeler approaches from behind. In a Metro convertible, that's a terrifying experience. With only 55 horsepower, merging into highway traffic required prayer and luck. The 3-cylinder engine buzzed and vibrated like a lawnmower. The convertible top was completely manual with no power assistance, and the mechanism barely worked reliably. The car felt like it was made from tinfoil, with body flex and cowl shake that made you question its structural integrity. While fuel economy was excellent at 40-plus miles per gallon, that came at the cost of comfort, refinement, and any sense of safety. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more embarrassing vehicle to be seen driving in the 1990s. Number 3. 1996 Pontiac Grand Am. The Grand Am came with either a 120 horsepower 2.4-liter 4-cylinder or a 150 horsepower 3.1-liter V6, both available with either a 5-speed manual or 4-speed automatic. Pontiac marketed it as a sporty alternative to the Cavalier, but it was just as problematic with a different body. Despite 4 attempts at building the Grand Am, Pontiac still couldn't get it right by the 4th generation. The 2.4-liter quad-4 engine was notorious for being rough, loud, and unreliable. The 3.1-liter V6 suffered from intake manifold gasket leaks that plagued all GM 60-degree V6 engines of this era. Interior plastics were cheap and rattled endlessly, dashboards cracked in sunlight, power window motors failed regularly, and the ignition switch had a tendency to catch fire, leading to massive recalls. The automatic transmissions were problematic with premature failures. Styling-wise, the Grand Am tried too hard to be sporty, with aggressive cladding and fake air scoops. It was all show and no go. A rattle can filled with disappointment. Number 2. 2000 to 2005 Cadillac DeVille. The second worst car is the 2000 to 2005 Cadillac DeVille, and it had a problem so severe it damaged Cadillac's reputation for an entire generation. The DeVille came with a 4.6-liter Northstar V8 producing either 275 or 300 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed automatic and front-wheel drive. On paper, the Northstar looked impressive, high-tech, powerful, sophisticated. In reality, it was a maintenance nightmare that bankrupted owners. The engine was notorious for head gasket failures caused by a fundamental design flaw. The head bolts would pull out of the aluminum block threads, leading to catastrophic coolant loss and overheating. Repairing this properly required expensive thread repair kits or complete engine replacement costing thousands of dollars, often more than the car's value. Number 1. 1960 to 1963 Chevrolet Corvair. The Corvair measured approximately 180 inches long with a 108-inch wheelbase, featuring an air-cooled 140 cubic inch flat 6 engine producing 80 horsepower in base form. The engineering was innovative: independent suspension all 4 corners, aluminum air-cooled engine, low center of gravity. Chevrolet's cost-cutting created serious problems. The first-generation Corvair featured swing-axle rear suspension with 60 to 63% of the car's weight over the rear wheels, making it prone to severe oversteer. When driven hard, the rear end would tuck under, causing uncontrollable spins. The car required different tire pressures, 15 psi front, 26 psi rear, completely foreign to American drivers. Most ignored this, making handling worse. The engine cooling fan belt would pop off regularly, causing the air-cooled engine to overheat and seize. The heating system used a gasoline burner that could consume a quart of fuel per hour and posed fire risks. The second generation fixed most issues, but damage was done.